Hey everybody, what's up? And welcome to Brain Balance and the Hidden Churn Live with Heather Wells. How's it going, Heather?
Very well. How about you? It's not black here. It's actually sunny for the first time in a while, and you're in the black, huh?
Pitch black. I'm in my office today. I'm usually at my house, but I'm in my physical office today, and it is like pitch black outside. It looks like it's gonna downpour. It's already rained a little bit. It might rain a little bit more, but it's okay. That happens sometimes, as we discussed. Sometimes it rains. So today we're talking about a couple things, my friends. And if you don't know who Heather is, and this is your first time seeing the show, then welcome. Heather is a child therapist. She is a board certified cognitive specialist. She is a National Autism Summit speaker, and in my opinion, has just a wealth of knowledge when it comes to helping kids that are dealing with all types of different issues, especially like my son, who is dealing with sensory issues and also a little bit of ADHD and a little bit of ODD. I am a brain balanced parent. My child has been through the program. He did a 9-month program, and it was great. It was great for us to help understand our son a little bit more. But, these weekly episodes really help us get to the bottom of a couple things that parents are struggling with. One of which are kind of a common thing that all of us parents are going through right now, and that is hoping that we turn our kids into successful adults. And in order to do that, Heather has kind of put together 6 of these life skills that must be taught or mastered or hopefully thought about even at a basic level to help our kids be successful. So with that, we have a presentation to help you follow along, and Heather is going to bring that to you. So Heather, the floor is yours.
All right. Thanks, Corey. Yeah, this is these 6 life skills are things you've probably heard us talk about in other contexts as they relate to whatever topic of the week we're covering. But there was a 20-year longitudinal study following kids with learning disorders, quote unquote, I call them learning differences. Because as Corey said, our job is not just to get kids through school. I mean, we let them be kids and they need to play and have fun also, but our ultimate job is to help them have successful, enjoyable lives as adults and live to their fullest and thrive. So these 6 skills are research-based, and I want to tell you what they are and provide some brainstorming ideas on how to help cultivate those. And the first one is self-awareness and confidence. That's considered one thing in this research. Of course, if I don't have a good sense of self, I'm not going to be very confident. And I actually shared this particular information on my page Sunday, but I want to do a little deeper dive. And I want to start by saying, if you have kids, like Corey has a son who struggles with sensory issues, when I don't feel my body the way I'm supposed to, when I misperceive the world, it slows down connecting to who I am as a human being. So there's a lot of research. Eye of the Vortex, that talks about how our proprioception, our body awareness will stunt our growth of our sense of self. So one thing we need to do is we got to take care of any foundational issues that kids are having. But aside from that, it's very important for kids to always know that every human being is a combination of strengths and weaknesses. And you've heard me talk about how kids also need to know that we have a rainbow of emotions. All human beings do. And it's important to share that sometimes you're sad, sometimes you're upset or irritated, and talk about what those things are and how you handle them. That way they don't feel shamed when they don't feel happy all the time. It's okay to talk about all the emotions, and we don't shame those. But a lot of kids may be out of touch with how they're feeling and then don't respond appropriately because they may have difficulty with self-regulation. Some of us will feel a knot in our stomach. That we have to have sensory system working correctly to even feel that. And that might be a signal that I'm escalating and I need to take some deep breaths, or I need to walk around the block and cool off. If I don't get those physical signals, I jump into action. Emotion precedes behavior before I've even registered what it is I'm feeling or how mad I am. So be sure that so many kids, we've talked about rejection sensitivity dysphoria, and 98 to 99% of adolescents and adults diagnosed with ADHD have a sense of shame, that whether it is real or perceived rejection, sometimes constructive criticism, that teacher hates me. Mom and dad are just out to get me. because they take it as a personal attack rather than we're trying to address this one thing and help you grow and be better. So it's not what we say, it's how it's perceived. So make sure, okay, your child is struggling in math. Tell me something you're really good at, and you also share something you really admire about them character-wise. Also share some of your strengths and weaknesses. It's really important. And ask how they feel. Ask why. Y'all have heard me talk about Socratic reasoning. You seem upset. Tell me about that. Or how are you feeling if when they're able to start that conversation on their own? Why? Because Jason said this to me. Why do you think that upset you? Because, and it takes about 5 whys and 5 open-ended questions to usually get to the real deal. But as you do that, not only are you gaining information to know how things are going at school or in this extracurricular they're involved in, but they're also figuring things out as they're talking to you. How many of us, probably everyone watching this, I would imagine, has had a time where you're facing an issue and just by talking it out with a significant other or a friend, it brings clarity. Kids start realizing they can figure some things out on themselves. But y'all have heard me say this too, but our language is how we convey our thoughts and our feelings. So if I only know the word mad, if I feel anything in that realm, I might be acting like it's a 10. If I understood that there's also frustrated, just a little bit irritated, when I have language for something, it helps me start processing it and behaving on the appropriate level to be in keeping with the actual emotion I'm feeling. Words give me organization system in my head to put things in the right category and not be all or nothing. It gives me cognitive flexibility. But, customized projects to be within students' capacities. Corey, you're talking about building, what is it out in your backyard?
A basketball hoop.
Oh, yeah. That would be a tough job for a lot of kids to do on their own, depending upon what their gifts are and what their kind of aptitudes are and their developmental level. But I'm sure as you're doing that, you're going to be thinking about all of those things and which parts will really kind of be in the wheelhouse of each student. We can do the same thing with school projects. If they're struggling to understand the story that they're reading, but they're really good hands-on learners, you could do an art and craft because you're appealing to something that works for them and it helps it click. And then when they read the story related to this craft you just did, it makes more sense. They have something to draw on. If kids are really low in confidence, give them some things that are just sure successes. Yeah, they're going to nail this. And that kind of gets some mojo going. But long-term, we always want to create projects and assignments, if your teachers out there, that stretch kids, but they're not just so far beyond what a child is capable of doing in that moment. And then they're going to make mistakes. Make sure we know how kids define success and failure too. Success is not when I get 100, and failure is not, I didn't get 100. I made progress. I learned something. I grew. That is a success. I got closer to my goal. And failure is not failure. It's a learning opportunity, so, yeah. And then as we move forward, we're kind of going to really hit on this last one, provide kids with opportunities to pursue their passions. What are they excited about? We have to spend so much time working on this homework they're struggling with. What are they into? Even what they get mad about can give you windows into things they're passionate about. That really starts growing sense of self. And we don't jump in and rescue. We're hands-on and there to support, but we teach them to problem solve independently, which is what we're going to look at next.
I got 2 fun things I want to share with you. You ready? And I'm going to bring it out. So I try to bring the real life situations, folks, because I do have, kids going through this stuff right now. I saw one thing today that was absolutely amazing. And then I had a proud dad moment yesterday. So they both apply to this. So the first thing today I saw is my son is homeschooled. We pulled him out of public school. They're home right now because my wife is immunocompromised, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. So my son, Roger, my guy who's struggling, it's hard for him to sit there. Even for an hour, it's hard. He's sitting at an iPad, he's focusing. And I saw my wife sitting with him and he was reading the iPad to her. So he was reading his assignment and she was rubbing his back. And it was like so amazing. I was like, oh my God, it was wonderful. Because she was like at the same time saying, good job. And I'm here for you. And I support you. And he was reading. And so I actually snuck in there and like gave them both a kiss real quick because I was off to work. But excellent, right? So I was so proud. And then yesterday I had my daughter get in the car after dance and she's 12. And she She's like, I'm so mad, Daddy. Like, I'm so mad. I'm like, what's going on? You know, she's like, you know, there's a dance. There was a dance that my friends were cast in and I wasn't cast in it. And I just can't believe like everybody else is casting it except me. And I just don't understand like why they would do that. And I'm like, well, you know, are you in any other dances? And she's like, yeah, I'm in another dance. And I was like, well, what's your role in that dance? And she's like, I don't know yet. They haven't like cast it yet. And I was like, what if you're the lead role? What if you're a big role and your other friends are part of an ensemble? You don't even know. And I said, you have two choices right now. I said, I acknowledge that this is a tough thing for you to go through, right? I mean, I understand. But I said, you can totally just be upset and mad and angry and hold on to that and probably not feel very good, right? Or you can do the difficult thing, which is be proud of your friends. Like, be happy for your friends. Feel the genuine joy that they feel when they get to be on the stage and they get to be in this number. Because I said, you know, when you were a younger kid than you are right now, you were a lead role for several times. And those same friends that are now in the number and you're not, they were watching you on the side. And so I said, how about this? I want you to focus all your energy on being proud and being happy for them. And you are going to be the first one in line to cheer them on when they are on stage. You're going to be off stage cheering them on. And I said, I promise you're going to feel 10 times better than you would feel the other way, which is the easy thing. It's easy to be upset. It's easy to be mad, right? And so I put that in her head, and that was my proud dad moment. I was like, oh man, I feel so good.
That's such a smart dad.
I was just pulling it out of my air, you know, just like making it up. But yeah, I was like, wow, that's pretty good advice. I need to think about that a little bit more, you know? Anyway, all right.
Yeah.
Let's bring it back in and let's get to our next slide. Here we go.
And so the next thing is these are two: proactivity and requesting help. Okay. And I put these together because a lot of times requesting help requires a lot of proactivity. But what gets in the way a lot of times is that kids don't believe that they can solve problems. So one of the best things we can do to grow kids' confidence and willingness to be proactive is to teach them to problem solve independently. And I put rough developmental ages when you would introduce some of these things, but a lot of these can move around, customize them to your children. But in the early ages, one of the first executive functions that grows is self-regulation. And we talked about finding out, helping kids learn to identify how they're feeling. We always empathize with the emotion, just like Corey did.
Sorry about that. Sorry, I pressed the wrong button.
That's all right. And then, you know, we want to teach regulation strategies like deep breathing or telling a joke or talking to a buddy or taking a walk and playing music, whatever it is that works for that particular child. For little ones, a lot of times the right thing to say is, show me the hard part. If they're struggling with something and they can take you to it, they can, if they have the language for it, explain it. And then you can really hone in on the hard part. They're not really ready to go through all the stages of problem solving yet, usually, but this is the beginning of it. And then, how do you think we can work on this? And then you can kind of talk out loud. You've heard me talk about dialogic reading, and that is when you're reading stories and you pause and you're saying, I wonder why the bunny did that. You know, I wonder what Susan's going to do next. But you can also do that with problem solving. I'm making cookies and I ran out of cinnamon. What should I do? I think I'm going to, and you can say out loud, you are modeling problem solving very intentionally. But another thing I want to say, unstructured play, kids learn problem solving skills. It is not just necessary so that they're not overscheduled and have CEO hours and to do on their calendar every day. But this is important for development, because you get in a little tiff with your friends, let them work it out. You're building something and it falls apart. How can I put this back together? So that's one of the most important things we can do. Now, these things continue as kids get older, but these are kind of rough ideas of when you introduce certain concepts. As they get older, we want to teach problem solving steps, roughly developmental ages 5 to 7. And here are some examples on the left. We've already been working with them on identifying their feelings and what's the problem. Don't tell them what the problem is. Ask them. And when they ask a question, respond with a question. Well, you know, if they're like, how do I fix this? Well, what do you think you should do to take care of it? And then we provide cues and guide them in the right direction. Brainstorm possible solutions. A lot of kids are afraid to take risks. What if one of the solutions is wrong? But you explained that brainstorming is when we come up with a bunch of ideas and we're going to decide which one's best. And we're going to think about the benefits and the drawback, pros and cons of each one. And then we're going to predict the outcome. Well, if I did this strategy and I went and talked to Jason about what happened, this might happen and he might feel this way. We want to teach them to think about, is the solution I'm coming up with safe? How does it make others feel? How does it make me feel? What's going to happen? When kids can predict, it releases anxiety. Anxiety comes when I don't know what's going to happen next. This is unfamiliar. This is such a critical thinking skill that kids need, not only to solve problems, but also to handle stress, which is one of the life skills they need. And then take action. Go for it. There's that proactivity. But again, they can learn these through crafts. Lots of open-ended questions. Some of the questions do it in real life situations, but also hypothetical situations. Like, let's say you're going to build a factory. What kind of factory would you build and why? And that it can be pretend play as well. It can be conversations. It can be, you can even write things on a cube each night and roll it, whatever it lands on. You have a fun conversation before kids go to bed. As they get older, ages 7 to 9, some of the problems start becoming more complex. And so again, you're still going to brainstorm, but help them chunk it down. Maybe they have a group project at school, and so they have to problem solve as far as how to get it done, but they also are having difficulty getting along with a classmate or someone who's not pulling their weight. So help them break down and come up with solutions for each component of the problem. One of the most empowering things is for kids to start realizing, what can I control and what can't I? For younger students, developmentally, you can even have a problem-solving wheel, and they can write in answers, or you can write them and talk about the pros and cons of these solutions in this particular scenario. But when kids realize, I wanted to go to the park today and it's raining. I wanted to build a basketball goal and it's black outside. I can't control the weather, so I am not going to expend emotional energy on that. But these are the things I can control. I can control how I respond to it. I can control the ideas I throw out of what we're going to do as a family activity instead, etc. That really, I do have control of a whole lot of things. Kids need to know that, because just realistically, there's so much of their lives they don't have control over.
Oh, yeah.
Just by being a kid. Ages 9 to 11, be really creative. Like, hey, let's make up a board game. You get to come up with the rules. I'm going to have you tell me why those are the rules. And I know you did this with your daughter recently. We talked about putting learning into real life scenarios. If you're at the swimming pool, measure the circumference. But I want this gadget. How much does it cost? How much allowance do you have to save to get it? Or how are you going to earn money to get it? Are there any chores I can do around the house? How much would I make for mowing the lawn, etc.? You are having them figure it out. And that's the beginning of goal setting that we're going to talk about in a minute. And research shows time and time again that when you put problem-solving steps down on paper, you carry through on solving the problem much more, just like with goals. And then as they get older, there are so many games, chess, checkers, all kinds of games that require critical thinking. They're still getting sensory input. They're getting family time. And it's such a fun way to grow critical thinking skills that they need to problem solve. And at any age, engagement in meaningful projects, kids need purpose. UNICEF has started giving kids an opportunity to read stories and donate the stars they earn to feeding hungry children. And their engagement in learning has gone up 55%.
Wow.
Study from the University of Arizona. When kids ask why, sometimes you're like, I don't know, because I said so. Sometimes those questions get a little old, but understand that is the beginning of kids' search for meaning. And so we want to really honor those questions and give them, maybe they don't love reading, but now when I read, I am feeding hungry children. There is a powerful reason to do it.
Yeah, excellent. All right, moving on.
Perseverance we know how important perseverance is. Duckworth, Dweck, Yeager, there are fascinating studies about underperforming schools who worked on grit and perseverance, and they go from below standards to being top schools in a state. That is, even when I face challenges, I keep going. And I have flexibility. I can work around this roadblock. There's more than one way to get to the goal. So part of this is a growth mindset. A fixed mindset, and kids think, of course, that child can do it because they just have natural ability. They're just smarter than I am. A growth mindset understands that our brains can grow new skills. Brains are like a muscle. Tell your kids, when you do hard things, your brain grows. Now, I want to give a caveat to this to tie it to something we talked about last week. And we saw that 85% of teachers and parents believe that if kids just work hard enough, they can get the grade they need. And that is not true. Trying harder is not the answer. So this is all in the context of getting kids the supports they need, the accommodations at school, the professional help to take care of the root issues. But they need to know that you're going to get them the support they need and the professional help they need. That when they do hard things, their brain grows. That makes it tangible. My brain has muscles and they get stronger. And the outcomes go through the roof. The effort goes through the roof. Help them understand, redefine what success and failure is. Mistakes help us learn. We celebrate mistakes. Go to my page if you want to learn more tips about how to handle mistakes that I posted just a few days ago. What other strategies could you try? Again, open-ended questions, but we're praising the strategies, the process. We're showing interest in the topic they chose to write about. Their persistence, even when it got hard. The fact that they used a table of contents for the first time, that was a win. We do not want to say, you are so smart, because now if I fail a test or something, I'm going to lose my parents' approval. That is not what you mean by that, but that is how kids can take it. And then they feel like human doing, so now I have to earn your approval. Talk about the character that they showed when they did something great. Instead of saying, I'm so proud of you for picking up your sister's toy so she wouldn't fall. I am so proud of your kindness. When you picked up that toy, it showed how much you love your sister. Now you're connecting it to character. But, and by the way, we want to be careful even on now, if we are working, if you have been supporting a child and they've required your help to get through science, and then they are becoming more independent on that, it's fine to praise that, but be careful. If we want kids to be proactive and ask teachers for help, a lot of times they're afraid to, I'm going to stand out or I'm going to get in trouble because everybody else understands this and I don't. So if we say, I'm so proud that you did this by yourself, it might make them less likely to ask for help when they need it. So keep that in mind. But the power of yet. This goes back to the research I mentioned earlier, Duckworth Dweck. I can't do it. I can't do it yet. When I keep working, I'm going to get better. So many kids think I'm just not a math person. Okay. And there is some truth to, we all have different propensities, but it doesn't mean the child cannot do math. Keep working at it. I believe you're going to be able to get it because you're showing such grit, such perseverance. But also just be sure of what we modeled for our own kids. As always, if we talk about how we failed at something, they're going to think when they don't get something right, they're a failure. Ask questions, what did you do today that made you think hard? And tell me about a time you solved a problem. What new strategies did you try today? Oh, I told the teacher I had trouble hearing by the door and asked if I could move. That is great. Way to stick up for yourself and ask for help, etc. So growth mindset, but not in the context of thinking all the kids have to do is try and everything will be fine. So.
Love it. Yeah. On to the next one.
And the fifth life skill is setting and pursuing goals. The study said setting goals, but it doesn't do any good if we don't pursue them. We want to talk about goals as a way for kids to make their dreams come true, not treat them as a task, because I already got a lot of tasks that I'm not looking forward to. So help them see what's in it for them. The most important thing when you start teaching kids to set and pursue goals, let them come up with goals themselves. Sometimes, yes, there needs to be certain goals y'all are working on, whether it's reading or whatever it is. Or my child, I'm scared that they're supposed to get their driver's license and I know they're not ready. We got to work on this. But get them to tell you goals they want to pursue. Ask them why. If it is a compelling why, they're going to stick with it even when they face obstacles. That is, when we talk about SMART goals, I start with the R, relevant. Why is the goal relevant to them? That is the why. But the goals need to be specific, not just I want to be a better student. That's not specific enough. Or I want to be a better baseball player. What do they want to be better at? Catching, throwing, running. Be specific. How are they going to know they're making progress? How are you going to know they're making progress? That's the part that's measurable. So an example of I want better health. That's fine, but that's too general. What do I want better? I need to lower my blood pressure, have it in a safe zone by the time I go to the doctor in 90 days. Okay, that is specific and it is measurable because we know what a healthy blood pressure is. And I would have kids write down with specificity and what the measurement is and their why in the goal. This is excellent for journaling. But make sure it's attainable. And I don't mean in a limiting way. I mean, kids might say, I want to raise $1 million for this children's cause, in 30 days. And then they burst their balloon and what a sweet little heart, what an awesome why. That's a very relevant goal. And they're going to do it by selling cookies. It might be hard to get to $1 million, if they've never done it before. Yeah. So helping manage that part of it so that they do see progress toward the goal rather than feeling defeated and time bound. When is it going to be done by? But we need long-term goals and we need notice that the steps to achieve my goal, help them chunk it down only on the level they need help with. Initially, they need help probably with all of these things. Things I need to achieve my goal. I'm going to need my parents' help. Where is it going to happen? When is it going to happen? How is it going to happen? Kind of the who, what, when, where, why kind of stuff. But help them chunk it down into what it takes to reach that goal. If I want to lower my blood pressure, I need to write a goal about what I'm going to eat. I need to write a goal about my exercise. So those are the mini goals to help me get to the major goal. And they also need to be specific and measurable. So, and how I'm going to keep myself motivated. It is not destructive to this motivation. It is helpful to the motivation to talk up front about times you have pursued goals, but you face some obstacles, and here's how you kept going. If you talk about this when kids are excited about their goals, they're going to be more open to it because it's not a negative emotional moment. And if we hit a roadblock, how are you going to keep going? Well, I could ask my teacher for help. I can come to y'all and ask, and we can brainstorm together. Come up with strategies so that when that roadblock happens, they already have a plan to keep going.
Nice. Yes. Love it.
And the sixth life skill that kids need is the ability to handle stress. Academic stress happens with gifted students. It happens with straight A honor roll students. It happens with those who are struggling. And it is one of the most overlooked things. Perfectionists are sometimes paralyzed. Procrastinators sometimes have horrible stress that makes them immobile, and then they beat themselves up more. So part of handling stress is I'm going to show you a different strategy on the next page because I've already shown you a chart before that has shades and degrees of emotions and about moving a paper clip or a clothespin up as they feel themselves escalating. But as kids get older, first of all, you need to teach them strategies for handling stress. Talk it out, settling time, take deep breaths, exercise, tell a joke, talk to a friend, give them strategies to use. But then as they get older, have them determine what strategy to use, what makes them feel the best, because that varies from person to person. Another excellent thing to do that really provides perspective and brings stress down is for them to think about what their problem is and rate it on a scale of 1 to 5 about how major it really is and what their response has been to it. They start learning to match their response to the severity of the issue. Have kids rate their days every day and talk about why it was a 4, why it was a 3. You do the same. And we don't want a whole lot of 1s and 5s because we want them to understand the shades and degrees. I mean, if you have a 5, great. But or maybe do them on a scale of 1 to 10, because 10s might be a little more rare, but you might have a whole lot of 8s and 9s. Yeah. And talk about all the good that happened, but this one thing happened that was a little stressful. That really starts helping them. Again, when you remind kids of what they are in control of, that helps mitigate stress. When they know that they are accepted, when we're growing their competence by them learning to problem solve for themselves, that helps mitigate stress. But keep in mind, the sensory system, if they are having sensory motor issues, their body goes into a fight or flight response because the brain and the body cannot perceive the difference between an actual physical threat and me misperceiving sensory information. So understand that some of these kids, due to no fault of their own, are living in a state of stress, but give them strategies to use. Journal. Y'all have heard me say this so many times, but the Big Life Journal, if you go to that site, just put in Big Life Journal in your browser, and they have excellent journals to help cultivate growth mindset and handling stress for little kids all the way through teenagers. That's a really good resource. Mrs. Winter's Bliss has excellent resources, and just put in Mrs. Winter's Bliss. Excellent resources for growth mindset and stress and kind of keeping things in perspective. I have book lists. I want to show that one more activity I have, Corey, because y'all know that I like bingo for kids. And this is a bingo chart of things that I am in control of, but it also can be a chart that they post to remind them of strategies they can use. Do I need to set a boundary? How am I interpreting the event? These could even be journaling prompts that you have posted on a board somewhere. And I am in control of whether I get enough sleep, unless they have issues that we need to take care of as parents and adults. I am in control of journaling, how I treat myself and others, when I forgive. Have I practiced gratitude today? You know, the goals I set, am I pursuing those? Am I beating myself up because I'm not keeping my word and staying focused on those goals? Have I asked for help? How am I responding to challenges? These are on and on it goes. Am I reminding myself of what I've learned from mistakes? What is my self-talk like? Talk to kids about how they talk to themselves. If they say, I'm such a loser, if you hear that out loud, they are saying it to themselves probably 1,000 times more than you're hearing those words come out, and have them counter that with what they know to be true in a journal or talking it out with you. But these are excellent ways to grow confidence and self-awareness and problem solving, perseverance, really everything we've talked about in handling stress. And by having something like this, you can have them fill these in themselves. You can fill them out together as a family. You can play bingo with this. And like I said, there's just so many ways you can do that. And if you're playing bingo, you say treating others with kindness, and they cover up that space, but they also share something they did today or a time they weren't kind and what they wish they had done differently. Nice. So yeah, it's a really good game to play.
It's colorful too. I like it a lot.
I love those colors. Yeah.
All right. I think we've got our preventing growth. Yeah.
Yeah, this is it. I posted this today on my page, but tell me and I forget, teach me and I remember, involve me and I learn. So hands-on, not helicopter, not rescuing, showing our confidence in them, but being hands-on with the support the kids need. When you have a problem, talk about it, help them come up with solutions, set goals together. Your goals can be separate, but you talk about when you stumbled in your goal, it makes them more likely to talk about theirs. Get your kids involved and grow their sense of competence, and they're going to make it not just through school, but in life.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
And this is just to summarize what the 6 keys were for everyone.
Just a summary of everything for you guys. And of course, make sure you go, sorry about that little thing popping up there in the bottom of the slides, but make sure you go check out Heather over at The Hidden Churn. You can find her, of course, over on Instagram and Facebook. And then, of course, the Brain Balance Centers, which Katie, Mansfield, and South Lake, all of these programs are virtual programs, hybrid programs, and in-person programs. So no matter where you're at in the country, you've got everything taken care of. We've got your back, whether it be virtually with one of our coaches or one of Heather's, right-hand men and women. We've got you taken care of. So parents, come check us out. Take a visit. There's the phone number. There's the information. And of course, if you have any questions, just reach out on the Facebook pages and we'll get right back to you. So Awesome tips, Heather, as always.
Thank you.
And guys, we'll be here. What do you have coming up next, Heather? You have another show coming up on Friday, right?
Yes, and we haven't. I don't even know what that one's going to be on yet.
And that's okay.
But yes, Friday at 3:30 with Dr. Brian Aspie. We do shows Friday. Yeah.
Beautiful. All right, everybody, have a great day, and we will talk to you soon.
Thanks, everyone.